Hello, again. I recently saw a video on the topic of motorcycles and motorcycle riding here in the US versus a different country and other parts of the world, for example, Japan. Now, I think that I have some type of knowledge on this. I have owned a NSR 250 and a MC22, which I currently still have. Now, I'm not saying I'm a qualified expert or anything by means, but I do believe I have some type of knowledge over other people. This video that I was watching goes into things about the actual process of importation and some key differences here and there. But I think that while reading that title, I wanted more information and more in depth of it. All right, let's take this R1 for example. It's a 1999, 1,000 centimeters with a 4-cylinder engine. Ever since 1999, a lot of this hasn't really changed. For example, Suzuki, since the 2000s, they've had the same engine in their GSX-Rs up until today. So a 20-year-old engine has been used in a new 2026 bike in 2025. Now, if the formula doesn't fail, then why fix it? I know. And if it ain't broke, then don't try to fix it. But the type of market that the US has is very different than a market back in Japan. For example, two-stroke bikes. Usually here, you'd probably think of a two-stroke as a dirt bike, and not even a new one either. Most new dirt bikes are 4-strokes. But in Japan, many two-stroke motorcycles are just regular sport bikes and GP bikes that they use for real racing. For example, the NSR, one of the most popular ones, for many wins in races and championships, a lot of history. But that bike was produced until many later years. A lot of that was never seen here in the US, and a lot of people still don't know about those bikes. For example, an NSR 250 is a V-twin engine, but it's a two-stroke. If you put into comparison a lightweight beginner quote-unquote bike here versus a lightweight small displacement engine over in Japan, the two-stroke is going to win any day, and it just has so much more power and character as a bike. It has, as I said, a 2-cylinder engine, but because it is a two-stroke, it just has so much more power with a much lighter weight chassis, engine, and motorcycle in general. But the weight of a two-stroke is just so much more minimal than the weight of a same displacement motorcycle over here. For example, the ZX4. Also, a really good bike. There's nothing wrong with that bike. A lot of people like it as a beginner motorcycle. But a 250 from Japan would beat it. Surely and easily. Another thing is the quality of those bikes. A Ninja 400 and a Ninja 300, or even Yamaha's version of the sport bike in the 250 category. Those bikes are mostly made either for someone that wants to take it to the track or a beginner just looking to get into riding. The quality on those isn't per se bad. It's still a very reliable bike, but many of the features and things that it has isn't what a professional grade level motorcycle would have. As opposed to Japan, many of the 250, 400, 500 centimeter category uses real parts that they race with. Brakes, two brakes in the front, 2 rotors, 1 in the back, expensive dampeners, expensive forks, and just many parts that they would use for actual GP racing. That's just another point to add on top of everything that was already said. Leaning out of the 2-stroke and coming more into the 4-stroke, even those type of bikes in Japan, they still are very different. I think that the closest we've gotten here is the ZX4 Double R, not to be confused with the ZX4 Single R. The Double R comes with a 4-cylinder 400 engine. The difference with that is just the amount of cylinders and the power band you have. Obviously, more cylinders equals more power. A 250 from Japan is gonna have 4 cylinders, for example, MC22. That bike is one of the closest bikes to the real racing bikes that were sold for the public and for anyone to use. Now, the target was young riders that were just starting to get into that scene of riding. Now, I don't believe that there's anything close here to compare to that. For anyone that doesn't know what a MC22 is, that's Honda's version of a mini Fireblade, if you want to put it. Now, Honda's Fireblade, the series of lineups, you have the 900 on the top end, and you have the 250, which is the MC22 on the bottom end. Now, even that bottom end 250 is a 4-cylinder. The catch, I guess, it revs up to 18,500. Although you can't top it out at 300 miles an hour, anything from 60, you do have to rev up the engine just to get out of first gear. You're not going anywhere at 5,000 revolutions.
Not going anywhere.
I think that this is somewhere where the sport bike category is leaning more into. A lot of people are getting out of that, trying to go the fastest top speed trend and leaning more into being able to use all the power that's part of the bike and riding for fun. For example, some might say that a V4R is the top bike, the best bike that you could buy right now.
You're the best, man.
Although it might be for performance and on the track, I don't think that the average person will ever use all that power in any place. Even if you take it to a wide track, open straights, you're not gonna use all of that power ever. The computer is still limiting part of that. So you're kind of paying and buying for something you won't necessarily use. Many people are still gonna go with the route of buying a small displacement little rocket that you could ride around on the streets, on the highway, and actually use all of that power and practice your skills, trying to get better, and just having a lot more fun with the ride. For example, this Yamaha right here, again, although from 1999, it still has around 170 horses, which for the time was thought of something, you're gonna kill yourself with, and given that it's from the 90s, it doesn't have any electronic help. I think that even that is still way more power than you will ever use on the street or on any highway. I think that most people have finally come to that where they are leaning more into fun, maybe a little more comfortable riding, as opposed to top speed and trying to get the fastest bike and the most expensive with the biggest engine. Well, thank you again for coming on this short talk. If you have any more information about these type of bikes or from Japan either, I would like to know as well. I know some things about them that maybe some people won't know, or if you want more in-depth topics about the two strokes and those type of sport bikes from Japan, I could do that too. Again, I said thank you and have a great rest of your day.